Biogas may be an alternative to natural gas, able to improve the agri-commodity yields. Joining me today to discuss the biogas market potential is Daniel von Scheven, Chief Executive Officer of AcrEnergy, a British biogas supplier. Daniel, thank you for coming. What is your business model?
We develop, we build and operate biogas plants. Our business model is very much based on a partnership with farmers. We bring together the best of both worlds. While the farmer feeds the plant, we look after all power-related matters, be it maintenance, energy management. We have that background, 30 years experience in the power industry with about 10 years in biogas.
And how big is this market?
This market is very much still in its nascent form, but the potential are enormous. Biogas fits into the bioenergy sector in principle, and that is already making up about 2/3 of the renewables, but biogas only just makes up about 10%. In terms of agricultural feedstock, in terms of food waste, this is where the huge potential lies. Just agricultural feedstock alone, we're predicting that we can supply the European gas market with up to 10% of its demand. For example, Germany, I mean, they are a very good example of how this market can reach its maturity. I mean, at the moment, Germany makes up about 70% of the biogas market.
What are the key drivers, really?
The drivers are very much, for biogas, like any renewable energy generation, it's about local generation, deploying local resources instead of importing them. Now, for biogas specifically, it is a viable alternative to natural gas. It's turning waste to energy. Agricultural-based biogas specifically, we have a free fertilizer. It depends on which country you're in. Then, of course, in region, it's very much dependent on what the incentives are. They change. I mean, the UK, for example, we have a great need to replace our current incumbent power generation because it's coming to the end of its life.
What has been the attitude in countries where the agribusiness is wide?
Well, we've got places like France and Spain. They're the countries with the largest agricultural areas, just under 30 million hectares for France, for example. Then the next in line, we've got Germany, Italy, Romania, Poland. It depends really in which country you are, who's got an inclination or wants to do something about putting together the energy and agricultural sector. Poland is, for example, is not very much looking at it at the moment. To their defense, they are supplying German biogas plants, so they do something about it. France, the farmers are desperate for it, but there's not really much happening. But on the other side, you've got countries like Germany. They've got 10 years in biogas supply now, and it's growing steadily. It's the largest market in Europe by far, and UK as well. They are now jumping on.
Is there a risk of land grabbing in this industry?
Well, let me get this straight. There is no fuel versus fuel debate or theme to be had in biogas. And that's very simply, the reason is very simple. The subsidies, the feed-in tariffs are nowhere nearly competing with the commodity prices available out there. And we welcome that. I'll tell you why. Biogas has got to plug into an existing farming operation for it to be successful in the long term. We've got well, it doesn't work for every farm. The farm where it does work is it's got to be able to integrate the energy crop into its rotation to make it, to improve its main crop, the food crop. And at the same time, he's also got to have some sort of livestock, such as dairy, cows, pig, poultry, etc. And it's about then him improving the crop, but at the same time, the livestock waste is, so to speak, parked in the biogas plant to be converted to energy and fertilizer. and instead of piling up behind the sheds.
What has been the impact of your business on agrochem fertilizer so far?
Well, we could like to see ourselves as a head-on competition with our free fertilizer. We can entirely replace the chemical fossil fuel-based fertilizers.
Looking at R&D, where is it taking place?
Oh, across the board. We've got the largest R&D institutes looking into improving fermentation process in biogas, seeds, the new types of energy crops being brought onto the market. I mean, thinking of Fraunhofer Institute in Germany, Supergen here in the UK has been just launched in August. They asked me to come on board on that. We've got Syngenta in the UK. We've got Ceres, a well-funded seed manufacturer in the US, for example, come to mind.
How expensive is to produce?
We budget about 5 million per megawatt. And yes, that's more than solar and wind. But don't forget biogas, the input, 80%, well, 85% minimum. We get to close 100% of the input is converted to energy, as opposed to just under 20 for solar or 35 for wind. And also, it's a continuous process, a 24/7 production process, and that does compensate then for the higher initial capital cost.
Are they environmental concerns?
None of any significance for farm-based biogas, none at all. I mean, you could argue that the excrement, the effluents from the silage could contaminate the groundwater, but we don't want to make sure we capture all of it because it's an essential part of our fermentation process. You could argue that the tractors and trailers who deliver the silage, they emit the indirect carbon emission, but that's not really true because they've been going around the farm anyway.
Can this industry stand without government subsidies?
Allow me, before I answer that question, to make 2 points here, to put it into context. I mean, one is any energy, regardless of fossil, nuclear, new renewables, everything is being subsidized. The IEA, the International Energy Association, last year came out with a report to say it's about $500 billion per annum that we are spending globally of taxpayers' money on energy subsidies, of which about 80 billion is spent on renewables. The other point I'd like to make is the subsidizing in renewables has got far wider implications than just renewables and carbon reduction and new jobs, but we're actually creating a new industry, an expertise that a country can then export. And at the same time, with biogas from farm-based agricultural feedstock, we're actually promoting the agricultural feedstock. So we are sort of catching 2 flies in one. So, for example, in the UK, this is a perfect tool for rebalancing the economy. Regardless of whether you're on the south or on the north of this country, you have an equal chance to actually start a new business.
Who are the investors betting in this market so far?
The biogas is very much like any other industry, any other energy industry. You need to split it into 3 phases. So you've got the development, you've got construction and initial operation, and then you've got the long-term operation of the plant. For each phase, you've got its risk profile, so from high to lower risk or none. And therefore, accordingly, the rewards. So development phase has got about a 30% expectation, up to 30% expectation of return. For the construction, we're talking about 12 to 17%. And then once the plant is up and running we return up to 9% for biogas. So each of these phases have got their specific investor profile. For development, it's high net worths, it's family funds. For the construction, it's VC type funds, $250 million type funds. Then expect that sort of return. And then as we go on to operation, the full operation of a plant, it's more the insurance pension funds that are looking to it's like an annuity play for them. It's a long-term investment for them as an investment for them to consider.
Daniel, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.